everyone, I'm Alex McHallam. You may notice that I'm here on my own. Okay, I'm going to try and time myself and juggle everything. As there's a lot to this project, I have got a book with me which explains it fully, visually, which you can look at whenever, just ask me. It's not for sale and it's the only one. And if you run off with it, I will find you. And I will, no. So okay, I'm sure you'll all be disappointed that it's just me. Liz Tiranti isn't available, she's on a Greek island. That's the nature of collaboration, isn't it? So I'm talking about a project that started at the end of 2023 and finished earlier this year. And it's with Liz and I, and the talk's called Collaboration and Community, and it's about creating a lasting legacy for a London suburb called Southgate, where I was born and grew up. So it's a very special project to me. Collaboration was at the heart of the project between two artists and the artist and the community. So the brief. We were selected for the project by a team of community champions who were working with Enfield Council as part of Curate Enfield, which was a borough-wide initiative to bring public art to areas of the borough that were previously overlooked. And it's funded by Arts Council England, Journeys and Places, and the Mayor of London. The brief was to create an art trail that reflected the history of Southgate, celebrated local heroes, and the diversity of the community. The wider community had already been consulted through a questionnaire sent out to civic groups, and there was a lot of interest about the project because really it is really overlooked. Most people know Southgate. Forgive me the couple of people who live near there. Well, we're all in the same boat, as a bit of a cut through to the M25. So, you know, it's somewhere you go through, you don't necessarily stop. Not anymore. So everyone was really enthusiastic about it. So we were off to a good start. So one of the questions that was asked in the questionnaire was where the work should go. And there were three options, and the first two, which seemed really good ideas and viable, we quickly had to drop because it actually was left to Liz and I to decide where we wanted to put the work, which, you know, in retrospect was, well, in any respect, wasn't a great idea. You really want a clear brief when you start. And we wasted time trying to work out where to put the artwork. The first two options were ruled out. So we noticed on the questionnaire that people were saying, well, you know those hanging basket stains, well, they ain't got plants on them anymore. So we said, well, you know what, things are good. What are the chances? So we consulted, we drew up some plans. So there's a hanging basket pole, empty. We drew up a plan and we consulted a structural engineer, and he came up with a design for us. And we sent it along, and we got permission for it really quickly. So we were going to do 2 roundels suspended on each pole. So that's 4 mosaics per pole, because there's a mosaic on each side. These are going up the main street in Southgate. There's 7 poles. Even with my bad maths, I know that's 28 mosaics. What were we thinking? So there we are, we had our idea. So how we went about working together. Liz and I hadn't worked together before, but we both knew each other because there's this sort of little group that's past chairs of BAMM, you know, there's a bit of a support group going on. And that's why she's not in Scarborough. And I liked her work, and we and her parents lived in Southgate, so I knew she'd be around a bit, even though she lives in Hove. And we discovered that we were a good skill fit because we've both got experience of community projects, public art projects, and then as the project sort of developed, we realised that I love a bit of research, and the weirder the fact, the better. And Liz loves a bit of admin, so she was working with the fabricator, ordering materials, doing the budget, all of that. So in the early days, it was, and continued to be, a really good mix. And how we worked together was, because as I say, she's in Hove, I'm in North London. Obviously, we've got video calls and things like that, which helped all through the project, but also we worked on average 2 full days every fortnight to really bring together our designs and our thoughts and develop the making as we went ahead. And also I was able to do the checks with the fabricator, because obviously making these roundels, there was the metal frames that the mosaics were going on, there was no room for error. So the designs. The community gave us 3 main themes that they wanted covered in these mosaics, which were going to form the art trail. And they wanted local history, local heroes, and celebrating the diversity of the local community. Some of the designs came to us really easily, and this is an example of one, because, this is the one that set us on our way. So the area is called Chase, the road they're on is called Chase Side, and the whole of North, that surround of London at one point was the Royal Chase, and Southgate's name comes from being the South Gate to the Chase. There you go, random facts. And it was royal land until the Act of Deforestation in 1777. So having a hunting scene was really relevant, and it turned into some very beautiful, quite classic looking mosaics. So we were able to say to everyone involved in the project, on the community side, we're listening to you, we're doing the history, and look, we're making these gorgeous mosaics for you. So, and the rest is going to fall into place. So we did 8 roundels of depicting the local history, which you can look at them in the book. I haven't got time to show all the slides, unfortunately. And the last one on the history front is 1933, which is when the underground came to Southgate, and that was the last big change, and that was and that is the underground station, which is a grade 2 listed building, so very iconic to the area. The local heroes category was a little harder to pin down, although I was reading Jeremy Deller's brilliant book Art is Magic at this time, in which he talks about issues around this. So one person's local hero is the next generation. Well, who's that then? But a hero can be a place as well as a person. And we developed that theme a bit. So you've got these 2 roundels here, examples. Again, we did a few of local heroes. But the one on the right is the local park, which is, very much treasured by everybody. And the one on the left depicts an area of Southgate called the Green. Is that Liz complaining? Is that Liz Tiranti ringing in? Don't answer it. Don't answer it. So she's watching on Zoom. She's done it. And this is the Green, which is another local landmark, and it depicts a cherry tree, because there's a pub on the Green called the Cherry Tree, and it looks like a stained glass window because the local church has the first commission by the William Morris Company for stained glass, and it's so that was, I think they were appointed and went, oh right, okay. So the drawings were made by Whitefriars. The drawings were done by William Morris, Burne-Jones and Rossetti, and features all of them as different biblical characters. So that's, another great artist collaboration for you. And there's also a beautiful mosaic behind the altar, so by Salviati, so that's also worth a visit, and a gem that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily know about the sort of cultural significance that we wanted to draw attention to. So how to depict the local community, the diversity of the local community. It's a London suburb with all the different people contributing as in most London suburbs. And so there's a big cultural mix, and we wanted to celebrate it. We like the idea of using birds because birds bring movement to mosaics and colour, and also birds migrate. And the first slide that if I had any confidence at all I'd go back to was the... Can I go back to the first slide? Bear with me, everyone. The first slide, you can see this was... so we were thinking about this a lot. We really took this seriously. So that birds were an idea, and also textiles and what people bring to the community in the sense of colour and interest and vibrancy and identity. Obviously, we had 28 mosaics to work on, so while we were working on other things, these ideas were all going round, and I went off to work on another quick job that I was doing and had to buy some fabric for part of this, and I was in a shop near me and there was this amazing African fabric, and one of them had a bird on it, and I thought, do you know what, a swift would look really good on an African print, so I'll try that. And then the next time Liz and I met up, I said, look, I think I might have got something here. And so we tried it for the swift, and that's a hummingbird. So the swift is on a Ghanaian fabric abstract, and the hummingbird is on a Madja fabric from the Caribbean. And we decided it worked, and so we did them for all of the 8 groups that we wanted to represent. And here on the right is... You're not meant to have favourites. There's the kingfisher for Turkey on a Turkish Iznik fabric, and then a crane on a Chinese willow pattern. I think it works, and people have really commented on it and seen, oh, yeah, I know, is that something to do with the Caribbean? That sort of being represented but being celebrated. So each roundel is essentially an individual project in itself, and how to sort of really tease out the design, when we got together in person, we would spend 15 minutes on each design, all swapping round, timer on. I'd worked on that, Liz had worked on that, and we'd swapped over and say, yeah, no, because at the end of the day, it's about the project, it's not about the individual ego. This is going to be up there a long time, it has to be good, and goodness me, I was born there, I have to be able to walk down the street sometime. The other interesting thing was getting the designs approved by the community champions, because each one had their own favourite bit. Oh, you haven't mentioned him, or what about her? And that was quite interesting, very quickly to say that, there was an Oscar winner, reality TV star, Amy Winehouse, all from the area. And so we made some of the designs like this, rather than having sort of like the voice of Wallace and Gromit holding an Oscar, in the wrong trousers or something daft like that, with Rob Rinder's wig on, which was one idea. We made them far more generic, but and we needed some explanation, so that's why we've done a book, but also each of the polls, there's the QR code, which is also on my website, so if you want to look at the project more deeply, there's an explanation for each mosaic on those. Community engagement, we really wanted to reach out to bits of the community that maybe didn't always get acknowledged. And we went into a local school called Tiranti, which is a school for teenagers with, secondary school with learning issues. That was great, don't underestimate your audience, because the school said, yeah, please come in, because nobody ever bothers with us, And we said, okay, happy to do so. And the first thing we did was this is their school badge, and as you can see, it's got a bit of a bird theme with it again. So we thought, well, that works really nicely. So we started abstracting it out, and the first session was doing some collaging, and then we said, well, that went well. Okay, should we do some mosaic? And and they loved it. Absolutely, really took to it very, very quickly and very well. And then there was a young girl who was sort of really liked drawing. She was just sitting in the corner drawing, and I said, oh, could you do me a design for a round? And she did this. Oh, it slipped down. But this is the gate, the postcode with on the white gate, and Shannon came up with that idea in about 5 minutes, and so we went back in, we took more mosaics, and we thought, this is working really well. So they made these 2 mosaics, as well as the other mosaics they worked on with us. We also had did some other community engagement, and had a community drop-in day where people were working on the mosaics and took the mosaics into an existing art group, did an evening takeover. And if I want to just quickly thank, you don't have to stand up, but Gabby, Sarah Hargreaves, Catherine Jury, who's not here, Claire Alloway, Ilona's not here, for coming along to the sessions and helping. That was brilliant, to have plants in to help people, get started. And also to Suzanne, who came over from Amsterdam for a weekend session in Liz's studio. So that was just great, really did help us, because it was a long project and we needed a bit of a lift from time to time. The fabrication, this is the bit you've all been waiting for. There are metal discs, and as per the structural engineer's instructions, we had to have a metal frame that would support them on the frames. And then we had to make sure that, I have to say, if I start, Liz was doing this bit. I don't know, really, I get, I know, right. So we had to fill in the gaps with the lower weddy and then put a circle over it. But everything had to be, every time we screwed something in, it had to be welded off on the other side, so that it's nice and smooth. So one side has got the frame, thin weddy, another thin weddy, but a whole circle. And the other side has got the slightly thicker weddy. And then there's a metal trim all the way around. Weddy sandwich. Or not, a metal sandwich with the weddy dough. And we were making onto mesh. So then we had a really wonderful day of actually, after all of this and all the making, we installed onto the frame. Obviously, we worked out the pairings and everything, and we had it. And then we were like, right, we've got to do this. And we stuck them all down with epoxy adhesive one day and grouted them all the next. And we're still speaking. Anyway, at this point, we did a dress rehearsal before we installed, obviously, and I said, do you know what, I think these are going to be too heavy to lift. And they were, Alex, come on. And so I recruited 2 people, and that's when collaboration becomes coercion, who are friends of mine. I said, would you like to come along at 6 o'clock in the morning and help us put up the mosaics? And they said, well, we've heard so much about them, we might as well. So we installed in one day. Well, no, actually, we started at 6 a.m. and finished by 11. And that's Tony, Seamus and Ruth, Liz and I. And we had a tower that we had to move up and down the high street, cross the road with it, stop the traffic, have cones, carry these things, because there was one place to park, and we had to go up and down carrying. Anyway, and they went up, and they're all straight. And the mosaics were installed on the 2nd of March this year, and a community celebration was held on May the 11th, which was really well attended and showed us how much people appreciated the mosaics. To sum up, the things that we've learnt, how much a structural engineer costs. Never take on a project where the location isn't finalised. Got to know about that, really. Don't let, it's their choice, not yours. And they've got the permissions in place as well. That was honestly almost 4 months wasted. Talk to everyone. You never know what you might find out. Don't underestimate anyone's abilities, whoever they are. Projects always take longer than you expect, so don't put other income streams on hold, even if it really puts you under a lot of pressure, because, you know, when it's done, that money's done, but your other income streams, you still need them. Give each other space, especially if one of you is having a hard time. Be prepared to step up when necessary. Also, Liz takes a lot of holidays. But there she is. There she is. Now, to conclude, I would say collaboration is a positive thing. Work with others. Share the grief, but share the love. It's worth it. Thanks.
Thank you.